This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by Chimichangas. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighbourhood film snob, and I am recording from Kirkcaldy in Scotland. I was going to say live from Scotland, but that wouldn't quite be true because there's no audience here at the moment. It's just me in my room. It's episode 103, and what can I tell you? No episode last week. I did start recording one, as I mentioned in the weekly update. I actually started recording a couple of times. But I was recording from the London streets, which were very loud, and the audio was unusable. And it's been a crazy couple of weeks, you know. Since the last time I recorded, we were in Colmar the last time an episode dropped, Colmar in France, and from there we went to Paris, and then we came to London. And London was 100% the busiest part of our trip so far. Probably the most exciting, did a lot of really fun stuff, some stuff that I'll talk about today, and some other stuff I'll cover in more detail when Tina's on next. So, for example, like the Harry Potter studio tour, which was fantastic. We'll talk about that in more detail when Tina's on next. We went and saw Frozen, the live production. A bit of a surprise for Zoe, so that was a lot of fun as well. But again, we'll talk more about that when Tina's on next. But what we'll do today is cover some movies. I've seen a few movies. Some trailers have dropped. Some announcements have been released thanks to San Diego Comic-Con. So we'll cover a couple of things, and then we'll get the heck out of here. So starting with the most recent thing, the newest thing that dropped is just earlier today, in the last hour or so, at the time of recording, Kevin Smith has dropped the trailer for his 16th movie, entitled The 4:30 Movie. Now, I've heard a little bit about this. I haven't been keeping up to date with Kevin Smith as much as I would in the past, for no other reason that he hasn't been podcasting as much on the shows that I like to listen to. Fat Man Beyond, I used to love, and I didn't stop liking it, but it just got to the point where they were recording that show during the pandemic, and Kevin Smith bought a movie theatre, so he could keep going to see movies, but I had a newborn and I was in lockdown, so they would start spoiling movies that I wouldn't get a chance to see for months, so I've kind of fallen off the wagon with Fat Man Beyond. I will get back to it. Apologies if I sound a little bit under the weather, I am. It's been a hectic month, so my body's just playing catch up and I'm a little bit sick, but so yes, I haven't been paying as much attention to the Kevin Smith stuff as I would normally, but I have heard about the 4:30 movie. I didn't know too much about it going into the trailer, and the trailer doesn't give too much away either, other than it's kind of like an homage to John Hughes films of the 80s, the idea of going to the movies with your friends, paying for one ticket and then sneaking around kind of theaters and, you know, checking out a bunch of movies, but only paying for one ticket, that sort of thing. Trailer dropped. It looks really fun. I really like this direction with where he's going. It doesn't look like a Kevin Smith film in as much as his visual style's changed a lot over the last 10 years or so. Obviously, in his own words, he said, you know, in Amy Taubman's words of The Village Voice, her words were, his style is that he has no style, and he was like, yep, I'll take that. And he kind of leaned into that for the first 10 years of his career, and then with Red State, his style really changed. Tusk and Yoga Hoses, I think, have a very distinct visual style as well. Pardon me. And then returning to the Askew universe with Jay and Silent Bob reboot, with Clerks 3. Kind of going back to the style that he had previously, or I guess a more high-def version of what he'd been doing. But this doesn't look like that at all. This looks different again. Like, there's some really cool lighting in it. There's some really cool use of colour in it. Stuff that I've never seen Kevin Smith do before. And it seems like I know it's an R film in the States. It'll probably be M in Australia. I know he's pushing for a PG-13, but because of some of the inferred dialogue, some of the sexual dialogue, he lost out and got an R, but it seems like it's pretty timid. Well, not timid, but tame for a Kevin Smith film. But I really like the look of it. It looks really fun. It looks like a great kind of rom-com, which he hasn't done in a while. Like, I'm getting some Jersey Girl vibes as well, which I'm sure some people won't be a fan of, because I know that was a film that people didn't like at the time. I personally love Jersey Girl. which I've talked about on the film before, on the show before. Sorry, and I think this is a really cool direction for him. It just seems fun. It just seems fun, and it seems to be all about the love of movies. Like the last line in the trailer is something like, I wish I should have watched it more than once. I should have watched it before I started recording. But the last line in the trailer is something like, most people go to the movies to escape. You go to the movies to help life make sense. Something like that. And I was like, ooh, that's me. I hear that. I love that. So it seems like it's a movie about loving movies. So I'm all on board for that. It was nice to see some familiar faces with Justin Long in there. Jeff Anderson, who plays Randall, plays like a crotchety old dad in the movie, which looked fun. Kate Micucci, Austin Zasia, who has been in a couple of Kevin's films. Harley Quinn Smith seems to be playing a character in a film within the film. Rosario Dawson popped up, and a bunch more names were mentioned. I can't remember off the top of my head now, but it looks fun. That's the big takeaway I have from it for me, is that it looks really, really fun. And I can't wait. It's been a minute since we've had a Kevin Smith film, so yeah, bring me one. Now, before we talk about the movies I've seen, let's jump into the biggest news of the week, because if you like movies, if you listen to this podcast, if you pay attention online at all, San Diego Comic-Con was this weekend. I always describe it as Nerd Christmas. The last couple of years, I would feel like there hasn't been as much exciting revealed. I could be wrong. I feel like after Spider-Man No Way Home, Marvel hasn't had too many like I've liked everything, but there haven't been any like major reveals or major releases, major announcements in a couple of years, I think. And on the DC front, obviously they closed up shop, and then they're rebooting or kind of restarting with James Gunn. There wasn't too much from the DC Warner Brothers side of things. They did have a presence. There was a trailer for Creature Commandos, which looks really cool. It's the first official thing of theirs coming out. Under James Gunn's kind of creative control, so Creature Commandos animated series. The trailer looks fun. I've enjoyed the more adult animation stuff coming from Warner Brothers and DC. I really like the Harley Quinn show. I haven't had a chance to watch the Kite Man show yet, which had just dropped recently, but I'll check that out soon. But I've been liking that. So Creature Commandos looks fun, and if they kind of go in that same vein, have it like silly and violent, I think it'd be a really good fit. They released the DC Studios logo, which is basically just the 90s DC logo from the comics, which is great. And there was a little animatic released of kind of Superman turning into the DC logo, which I think they're going to put in the front of each film. And apparently the rumor is that each character will get their own individual kind of like animated logo for that, which I like quite a bit. So that was cool. On the Marvel front, there were a couple of announcements. There was some Thunderbolts chatter. I can't remember too much of the Thunderbolt stuff, to be honest, but that's okay. Apparently they showed some footage, but it hasn't been released to us yet. Fantastic Four footage did leak. If you go looking hard enough, you can find it. There was like a little... it's really hard to see, so I couldn't see too much in it, but there was a peek at Galactus, which looked awesome. And there was a bit of a kind of like a silhouette look at the Thing. And we saw Pedro as Reed Richards. It looks like he's keeping his mustache, which is an interesting choice. I know that Reed has had a mustache in the comics before, but generally he has facial hair like when he's under stress. Normally he's kind of clean cut. That's fine. I'm not against it. The Fantastica, they brought that into San Diego Comic-Con, into Hall H, which was pretty cool. And Deadpool and Wolverine, the big cameos, the big surprise cameos in the film, those actors and actresses were brought into Hall H. I'm not going to mention it here because I'm going to spoil the movie in a second, because I saw Deadpool and Wolverine the other night. But the biggest news was about what's happening with the Avengers movies. So obviously we knew that there was Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret Wars coming out in 2026, 2027. And then with all the Jonathan Majors stuff, obviously his accusations and then being found guilty, it kind of left Marvel in a bit of an interesting place, and everyone's wondering what was going to happen. Were they going to keep going with Kang but recast? Were they going to change the storyline altogether? What was going to happen? And Secret Wars is still happening, but it makes sense, the decision they've made. With Fantastic Four coming, with Secret Wars coming, bring in Doctor Doom. So Kang Dynasty has been renamed Avengers Doomsday, and we're introducing the character of Doctor Doom. And it was revealed that to play the character Doctor Doom, will be Robert Downey Jr., which I'm all for. This has been a really mixed. This is a kind of announcement been kind of received mixed responses, mostly positive. I'd say I think most people are excited to see Robert Downey Jr. back. A lot of people are excited to have the Russos back. That was the other thing that was announced. So the Russo brothers, Joe and Anthony Russo, who directed Winter Soldier, who directed Civil War and Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame, they're both back and they're like, we're not coming back. Like, we're done. We've really enjoyed our time. We're not going to come back. They've come back, and they're going to do the two Avengers films, which I think is a good choice. A lot of people online have called it desperate. I don't think it's desperate. I think it's smart. You got those two who are great directors. They had a great time with Marvel. They've got a great relationship with Kevin Feige. It makes sense to bring them back if they're interested, which it sounds like that. And they've even said time and time again that Secret Wars was the comic book that got them into comics. So Stephen McFeely, who was one of the writers of all the Cap movies and those last two Avengers films, he's back as well, which is great. And the Robert Downey Jr. thing, like, this is what the multiverse is for. Like, when they announced What If, I got really excited, because I'm like, oh my god, we're going to see so many, like, crazy, ridiculous, like, variation, like alternate realities and stuff like that. And What If hasn't really been that. There've been a couple of cool ones, like the Sinister Strange storyline was cool, but a lot of the What If stories haven't been too different. Like, of all the things you could do, they didn't really change things too much. This is a great What If story, except they're using the multiverse and they're making it canon, which is... Now, I don't know whether Robert Downey Jr. is playing Victor Von Doom. They did say Victor Von Doom in the announcement, but they say a lot of things before things get released. But there is also a character in the comics called the Superior Iron Man, and that's when Tony Stark became Doctor Doom. He was still Tony Stark, but he kind of went bad and became Doctor Doom. So I don't really care which direction they go, whether he plays Victor Von Doom or Tony Stark as Doctor Doom. I think that's great because you've got existing characters who saw Tony Stark die. So in that movie, you can have that moment where they're like, wait, is that Tony Stark? Tony, do you remember me? And then you can have that betrayal. You can have that, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Within the film, we all know he's a bad guy because it's Doctor Doom. Like, there's no one called Doctor Doom as a good guy. So you've got all of that, which I think is really cool. I don't know. I think it's a great choice. I still think they'll probably do another Doctor Doom, like, for the Fantastic Four universe, because the Fantastic Four apparently are not in our current universe. They're in a different universe, and they're going to migrate over, apparently. That's what it sounds like. But I'm all for the casting. I think Robert Downey Jr. is a great choice. I know some people are skeptical, but people were skeptical about Robert Downey Jr. when they cast him as Iron Man, and he's been our favourite thing for the last 20 years. Like, the guy can do dark, he can do villain. He doesn't do a lot of villain roles, but when he does, he's really good. He was great in Oppenheimer as a villain. I think it's a great choice. And again, like, if you're going to do multiverse, if you're going to wrap up the multiverse, I think this is a cool way to do it. But I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are. So if you listen to this episode and you are in agreement with me, you disagree with me, you're on the fence about it, you kind of wait to see, let me know what you think. We've never had a bad actor for Doctor Doom. Like, Julian McMahon was a great choice for the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four. Toby Kebbell was a great choice for Victor Von Doom in the 2015 one. Like, in fact, I would say the casting for all those films have been pretty good. It's just been other elements that haven't quite worked. But anyway, that's the announcement. That's huge. I like the way they built it up. I like the way they revealed it. If you haven't seen it, jump online and watch the video. It only goes for like 30 seconds to a minute, and it's really fun. Yeah, I like it. I'm on board with that. Which means it is time to talk some actual movies that are out right now, movies that I've seen. I'm in the middle of watching The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I'm in the middle of watching that right now. It's the new Guy Pearce film. It's a World War II film based on true story. It's got Henry Cavill and who's the really muscly guy who plays Hawk in Titans, and he's also a Reacher. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm having a hard time remembering movie details at the moment, which kind of sucks. I like talking about movie details, but my brain's kind of scorched from all the travel. Oh my goodness. Anyway, it's really wonderful. I've still got about 40 minutes to go before I finish it, but it's really good. I've been watching it on Prime, and the accommodation I'm in right now in Scotland doesn't have streaming. I can't get streaming up, so I have to go buy a Fire Stick or a Chromecast or something, because I don't want to finish watching it on my phone. So as soon as I finish watching that, I will let you guys know what I think about it. But look, with 40 minutes to go in a 2-hour film, it's pretty safe to say I think they're going to stick to the landing. But it's really good so far. Speaking of Prime, I also watched Roadhouse, the Jake Gyllenhaal remake of Roadhouse. I thought it was really fun. You know, I like the Patrick Swayze one quite a bit. I haven't seen it in probably 20 years, but I really liked it when I did watch it. It's not like this precious flower to me where it's going to get ruined. Like, you're going to have fans of the original. You're going to have people who like the remake, and people who don't like either, so far, so forth. Is it the original one? Not at all. But it's really fun. Jake Gyllenhaal's a great choice. Because Jake Gyllenhaal can be like a badass and charming and cute and all those things as well. And so could Patrick Swayze. It's a really good pick for the Roadhouse movie. The guy who plays the villain, Magnuson, I can't remember his name, Billy Magnuson, I think it is. He was also in Game Night. There's been a couple of things. He was a really good choice. Conor McGregor, look, he's not an actor, but that's not me criticizing. Like, I thought he was clearly having fun. He is having a blast in that film. Like, I don't think all that smiling he's doing in the movie is acting. I think that is just Conor McGregor having a great old time. There's some weird accent stuff in the very first scene he shows up in. I think he's trying to do an American accent, and then after that first scene, they're like, just go back to your Scottish accent, which was the right choice. But yeah, it's just like cheap, sleazy fun, and totally worth a watch. Like, it's a fun revenge flick. It's definitely worth your time. But like, don't go in expecting to see like cinematic gold. But it's a really fun popcorn watch. It was like I was sick the day that I watched it. I woke up in London a couple of days ago, and I was really, really unwell. I couldn't even leave the house. Like, Tina and Zoe went out to London to the markets all by themselves, and I stayed at home. I was just so sick. So I watched Roadhouse, and it was a good time. So it's like one of those movies. Like, if you're at home sick and you just want something to comfort you, like Roadhouse, totally worth it. Alrighty. Before we jump into the films I saw in cinema, I did do a big physical media buy as well. I managed to get to HMV, so I've been to HMV once since being in London. Now that I'm in Scotland and I'm starting to get set up here, I'll probably just start ordering physical media, but I am collecting my Blu-rays still. I got an awesome batch of stuff. Most of the stuff I bought I haven't actually seen, which is great as well. They don't have a Blu-ray player, of course, because no one has Blu-ray players anymore. So again, I'm going to try and wrangle myself a Blu-ray player before I get back to Australia, so I can watch most of these movies at least once. But yeah, I got a ton of new releases. I got Civil War, I got Abigail, I got Poor Things. I should just go through my actual collection, shouldn't I? And then I can tell you exactly what I bought. It means getting off the bed, which I'll do. So The Lighthouse, which I'd seen before, Indiana Jones I'd seen before, but The Running Man I've never seen. It's never been available on Blu-ray in Australia. Challenges, The Holy Mountain, which is an old Jodorowsky film. It hasn't been available in Australia for a long time, and when I was ordering from Zavvi years ago before they stopped shipping to Australia, it was one of the only titles they stocked which they wouldn't ship out of the UK to Australia. All their other titles they would, but for some reason Holy Mountain they wouldn't. So I finally got that. I got Street Fighter, which you might remember from Josh's episode, his video game episode. He was a big fan of it. He was really selling me on it, so I'm keen to check that out. Excalibur, 1984. All movies I haven't seen. Civil War I mentioned. Anatomy of a Fall. They didn't do a Blu-ray release in Australia, so I've got that. Past Lives. They didn't do a Blu-ray release in Australia, so I've got that. The Farewell, which I've never seen, but it was hyped up a lot by Nish Kumar and Brett Goldstein a few years back on Films to Be Buried With, so I'm keen to check that out. Poor Things I mentioned, Abigail I mentioned. I also got The Sacrament, which I've seen before, but it's been a long time since we had a Blu-ray release in Australia. Abigail and Annabelle Creation. And I got a second-hand copy of Nosferatu, which I was very excited about as well. So that was my physical media shopping, which was, it was nice to add all of those to my collection. Pardon me. So let's talk movies that I have seen in theaters. I've been to the movies twice. I wanted to go in every country that I hit, but Italy, as you know, if you listen to the last few episodes, you know that everyone was sick, so there was not a lot of travel available. We were spending most of our time in the apartment. So that kind of killed that. And then in Interlaken, which was in Switzerland, there wasn't a theatre. Or if there was, it was too far away for us to travel because of the means that we had. In Colmar, there was a theatre. I went and visited, took a photo. But again, just the days were so long. We were so tired. I just decided to catch up on The Boys instead. So I watched The Boys season 4 while I was in Colmar, and I also watched a couple of Netflix documentaries with Tina, which I can't remember if we talked about or not, but we watched some of those. So London, I hit the theatre twice. There was a cinema around the corner from my house, about like a 5-10 minute walk. So the first movie I saw was Longlegs, the Osgood Perkins serial killer film with Maika Monroe and of course Nicolas Cage. And I was really looking forward to seeing this one. I knew nothing about it, but obviously it was a very hyped film. Everyone was talking about how great this film was, about how great Nicolas Cage was. Pardon me. So I went into it knowing nothing at all about it other than it's a bit like Seven, it's a bit like Silence of the Lambs. I'll go on record now saying that it's scarier than both of those films. It's not a particularly scary film. It's less of a horror film, more of a thriller. But there are some real moments in that film that got under my skin. Before I talk about it any further, I will say spoiler alert. I'm going to talk about this and Deadpool and Wolverine, and I'm going to spoil them. So, if you haven't seen Longlegs, if you haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine, that's all I'm going to talk about for the rest of this episode. So you might as well pause it, go see those movies, and come back, unless you don't really care about them. So Longlegs is set in I want to say it's set in the 90s, if I remember correctly, or like set in the 70s and the 90s. It's got this real like 70s vibe to it. It's really gritty. There's a grain on the film a lot, which is really cool. It's got a really moody kind of like score, but it's wonderful. Maika Monroe is excellent. Previously, I'd seen her in It Follows. I had to think for a second what it was. I think I've seen her something else as well. I'll see if I can look it up while I'm talking to you. Let me have a look and see. Maika Monroe. What else was she in? I'm sure she was in something else that I've seen. She was in The Guest. The Guest is what I'm thinking of, which is a really wonderful movie as well. Yeah, so Maika Monroe kind of plays this rookie, or she's not quite a rookie, but she's definitely a newer kind of FBI agent, and or she's a cop, and she moves into the FBI, very much like Clarice Starling. And it's not made clear whether she's someone who's a little bit on the autism spectrum, if she's a survivor of trauma, but she's got she's very non-personal. Like, she doesn't really like pick up on social cues. She's very kind of quiet and direct with people. The film opens with this terrifying shot of a little girl kind of in the snow, and we see Longlegs, the character Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage, just kind of off screen, and he's talking to her, and oh my god, like, it should have been such an obvious jump scare, but I just wasn't expecting it, and when they finally, like, they do this reveal of his face so quickly, it got my heart pounding, man. But it is revealed later, spoiler alert, that little girl is the Maika Monroe character, so Longlegs has been in her life for longer than she can remember. But yeah, as I mentioned, so she's not the most social character, but she because of that, it helps her be good at her job, because she pays attention, she picks up on things that people miss. And we get cut to the present day. She kind of realizes she's kind of assigned to this case, like, hey, we're trying to get this guy. He's responsible for killing a lot of people. And then it's almost like Jigsaw, not so much on the torture side of things, but this Longlegs character, he's not killing anyone directly. He's kind of coercing fathers to kill their families, which was very reminiscent of Amityville Horror as well, where the father like kind of kills his wife and children and stuff like that, or Red Dragon a little bit as well. There are a few different influences that kind of you can see in the film, whilst it's still being its own wholly original thing. So she goes out with her partner, and she kind of gets this vision, like, you don't see it, you can just kind of see, like, over her face, like, her realizing, she gets the kind of intuition that the killer is in this house, and ends up getting her partner killed, and then they find out that maybe not, she has some psychic tendencies. This is a great line by her new partner, where he says half psychic is better than not psychic at all. But she kind of has this intuition, and she can kind of connect with Longlegs in a way. She kind of understands him in a way that no one else has been able to. Like, this is a case that's been open for 30, 40 years, and there's been no movement at all. And then as soon as she gets put on it, like, the wheels start turning. I said I would spoil it. I don't want to give too much away because I think you want to go in blind. Like, I hadn't even seen a trailer. I just went in based on everyone's reactions. Like, everyone was talking about it so much online. I was like, you know what? No trailer for me. I'm just going to go straight in. So I'll leave it there in terms of plot points. I will say this, like, there are elements of satanic panic in it, which is always fun. You know, I love cult stuff. I love stuff about Satan. It cannot be overstated how great Nicolas Cage is in this. He's gets a chance to be absolutely kind of wacky and wild in the way that we love Nicolas Cage, but he's pretty restrained in the film as well. The prosthetics and makeup, I've seen mixed reviews on that. Some people have said it's fantastic. Others have said that it looks cheap and a bit silly. I tend to lean in favour of it. You forget that it's Nicolas Cage. Like, it's just enough that you forget that it's him. It's not like, you know, when Johnny Depp did like 20 films in a row where he was just buried under prosthetics. It's not quite that extravagant. Like, if you look, you can see him, but between the subtlety of the makeup and the performance, you do forget that it's Nick Cage, which I really like. Meika Manor is excellent. I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of that name, but she's really, really good. And you know, having seen her in The Guest, having seen her in It Follows, she is kind of turning herself into a bit of a scream queen. Even though The Guest isn't really a horror film, it does have horrific moments. And this film just kind of further shows kind of her ability and her palette in terms of being a performer. It's so different to everything else I've seen her in, and I didn't even realize it was her. I kept saying it was Daisy Edgar Jones. When I put up an Instagram post, I mentioned Daisy Edgar Jones, and when I recorded my original episode, I said Daisy Edgar Jones as well. But she's not in this movie. She's in Twisters. I got confused. But yeah, Longlegs is excellent. Really creepy. When I initially recorded my review of it, which got scrapped because of all the sound issues, I said I wasn't sure when I would watch it again because I was walking home from the theatre. I was literally walking home from the theatre in London, in the dark, like 11:30 at night, by myself, and I was really unsettled. Like, it really got under my skin. It's not particularly violent. Like, there are moments where it gets violent, but it's more just this. It's just such a sinister film that, like, it really made me uneasy to the point where I was like, like, I don't know if I need to watch this movie again for a while. Like, it's pretty full on. I'm ready to watch it again. I think it was just all the atmosphere of me walking home at night in another country that kind of got under my skin. But it's excellent. It's really worth your time. So Longlegs, go check it out. It's a bizarre flick, and it'll make you jump, for sure. And hopefully it'll get under your skin the way it got under my skin. Which means the last film that I've watched, and the last film we're talking about today, is, of course, the long-awaited Deadpool and Wolverine, the latest entry, not only in the Deadpool franchise, but also the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is less. I'm going to spoil quite a few things. This one I will spoil, because everyone's seen this movie. And if you haven't seen it yet, like, just stop listening here, and come back after you've seen it, because it made like $500 million opening weekend. Like, that's huge. Like, for an R-rated film, or probably MA in Australia, that's a huge opening. I think it actually broke the record. I think it's the biggest opening for an R-rated film of all time, and the biggest opening the MCU has seen in a little while. I think it's less of kind of, how do I put it? It's less Deadpool introducing the mutants to the MCU, and more Deadpool closing the door on the Fox universe. That's what it is. I think, like, a lot of people were hyping it up. Even, I think, Kevin Feige and stuff to a certain point. They're all talking about, like, this is it, the debut of the mutants in the MCU. And it's not really. Like, yes, there are mutants in it, but they're mutants that we've seen before. There's no one... Of all the characters we see in the movie, we've seen before. There's no new casting or anything like that. It's them closing the door. And it's like it's a beautiful love letter to the Fox universe. Like, all the X-Men stuff they do, the Fantastic Four stuff they do, a couple other things I'll mention in a moment. it's with such kindness. Like, it makes fun of all of it, but it is a love letter. It's really touching. It's beautiful. Um, this flick is a blast. I think like it's important to go in managing your expectations. Um, it's not. It's there are quite a few cameos. Um, it's still not like Infinity War Endgame level number of characters. It is relatively small. I was kind of hoping for a few more, but I think I'm greedy as well. But it was definitely more the Multiverse of Madness. I don't think there were too many surprises for me. I think most things I'd either heard rumors of online, and I wasn't searching for just things I'd stumble across online. But like, oh, they're saying, like very early on, they're like Jennifer Garner's returning as Elektra. Um, Stuff like that. So I'd heard a few rumors, and I watched all the trailers, but that's okay. Like, it didn't ruin my enjoyment of the film. I think first and foremost, you want to treat it as a comedy, and it's very funny. Like, just like the previous Deadpool films, it is rattling off 10 jokes a minute easily, and they land. Like, it's very very funny, very meta, very self-referential, and definitely gets to play a lot with not just the Deadpool movies, but the X-Men movies, the Fantastic Four movies, and the MCU movies as well. Ryan Reynolds is excellent. The opening credits is probably the best opening credits of the three Deadpool films. Again, I said I'll spoil stuff. I probably will stick more to the cameo stuff that I'm going to spoil. I don't want to spoil plot stuff so much, because I don't know. I also saw it like three, 4 nights ago, and it was before I was sick, so I don't want to. I probably won't remember stuff. Um, But yeah, Ryan Reynolds is excellent. Hugh Jackman is great. Hugh Jackman's playing a different Wolverine. He's not playing Wolverine from the X-Men films we've seen before. He's not playing Wolverine from Logan. That Logan is dead. He's very dead. There's a whole montage of Deadpool going through different universes trying to find a Wolverine. And he stumbles upon the one for this movie, and he's kind of known as the worst Wolverine in the multiverse. Like, he's the one that failed everyone. And that was touched on in the trailers. I didn't think they kind of framed him as the worst Wolverine, but they did in the trailers kind of say, like, he let his planet down. He let his X-Men down. He let his world down. We get, all the Deadpool family back. We get Vanessa. We get Yukio. We get Negasonic. We get Colossus. They're not in it that much. They're kind of in the opening and the closing, but they're really not part of the adventure at all. Which makes sense. You want Deadpool and Wolverine to be that, just Deadpool and Wolverine. Pardon me. You get quite a bit of Peter, if you remember Peter from from Deadpool 2. Oh my goodness, I've forgotten the actor's name. The Rob Delaney character, he's in it quite a bit, more than I was expecting, and has is very funny to watch and very enjoyable to watch. Let's just talk about these cameos, man. We'll start with where do we start? Let's start with the Wolverine stuff. So Hugh Jackman plays pretty much every version of Wolverine. There is one version of Wolverine that is not played by Hugh Jackman. So we get Patch. Patch is played by Hugh Jackman. He's the Wolverine wearing the eye patch. There's a really funny moment where we see comic accurate Wolverine, which is like a 4-foot version of Wolverine. It is Hugh Jackman's face CGI'd onto a short body, and it cracked me up. It reminded me very much of small Ant-Man, very small Scott in Ant-Man and the Wasp, where he's got like a kid-sized body. It was genius. There's Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, who's got like a mullet, and he's like really violent. I've never read Age of Apocalypse, but I noticed I was doing some reading, and some comic book fans were really excited about that. We saw the brown suit Wolverine, which is the one who fought the Hulk, and we did see a glimpse of Hulk. There were a lot of rumors and a lot of people saying, like, Wolverine fights the Hulk in this movie. He doesn't. He doesn't fight the Hulk. But the Hulk is in a scene, which is cool. We get Old Man Logan from the comics. So Old Man Logan, the one who wears the cowboy hat and has a gun. We get him briefly. I actually thought it was John Jarrett for a second, because he looks like John Jarrett from Wolf Creek. And I think that's... Oh, we get like a Wolverine on like a crucifix. No, I couldn't find who that was, but there's a Wolverine on like an X-shaped crucifix. And then the big surprise was there's a really muscly Wolverine, like one working on a motorcycle. And, there were a lot of rumors, like would Daniel Radcliffe be playing a Wolverine? That was thrown around a lot. Would Taron Egerton be playing a Wolverine? That was thrown a lot. Henry Cavill shows up in this film as the Cavalrine. And there's some great jokes there about how, if he sticks around, Marvel will treat him so much better than the people down the street, because obviously we all know the Henry Cavill Superman story. He's only in it for the scene. I liked him. I think I'd heard rumors about him potentially showing up as Wolverine as well. Until I saw it, I wasn't convinced, and then I saw him as Wolverine. I'm like, you know what? Yes, please and thank you. I'll take Henry Cavill as Wolverine. I don't think we will be getting him, but it was nice to see him in that one scene. So those are our Wolverine cameos. Then let's think. We go to the Wasteland, so the Void, if you will. If you watch Loki, you'll know that anyone who gets pruned gets sent to the Void, where like all the rejects get sent. We see Wolverine and Deadpool fight a little bit, and then there's a hooded figure. And I remember when the first trailer dropped, I'm like, "Is that Doctor Doom?" It's not Doctor Doom. But it is ironically, it is someone from the Fantastic Four, from a Fantastic Four movie. Chris Evans shows up, and there's a great moment of confusion, because I think a lot of people who have been watching the MCU for a while, who maybe aren't aware of what Deadpool and Wolverine was trying to do, thought it was Captain America, and even Deadpool's like, he's going to say, like, Avengers Assemble, and instead he says Flame On, and he plays the Human Torch again, which was great. And this is a very jaded Johnny Storm. Obviously, those Fantastic Four films were PG. This is a very R-rated Johnny Storm. He curses and says dirty jokes and stuff like that. You can tell, like, because all of his friends are dead. So, like, he's just at his wit's end. But he's very funny. There's kind of like a Brotherhood of Mutants led by Pyro. So Pyro returns. Toad's there. We get Sabretooth. I won't talk too much about what they do there, just because I don't want to spoil that for you. Then they return back to the dead giant man body, which is in the trailer, which is kind of the ground base for Cassandra Nova, our primary antagonist, or one of our primary antagonists. I really liked her, Cassandra Nova. She's Charles Xavier's sister, twin sister who died in utero. It's a weird part of the comics. I think it's Emma Corrin plays Cassandra Nova, and she was wonderful. She played a kind of mustache twirling villain really well. I really enjoyed her, and her powers are gross. They're really gross. Like, she's got all the powers of Charles Xavier, except she has to get up close. So to read someone's mind, she has to put her hand into their face and into their head and stuff. One thing I will say about the film that I was initially disappointed with when I watched it, but I have since kind of changed my mind on, was the quality of the CGI. I know that the Marvel films have come under attack for their CGI recently, and I've always defended them. In this, there was definitely some moments that looked quite cartoony. But then I remember that, look, it is Deadpool, and the Deadpool films are deliberately low budget, so they can, have a bit more freedom in terms of their kind of dialogue and their story and stuff like that. And because of that, their CGI is a little bit cheaper. And the CGI looks great in a lot of times, but there are a couple of moments. In particular, there's a Cassandra Nova Johnny Storm moment where I was like, oh, that looks a bit like a video game. But I've since backtracked. I'm cool with it. Not that my opinion matters, but like I'm okay. Like it's fine. Like, it's not going to ruin your experience. We get a Juggernaut. It's not Vinnie Jones, but it is the Vinnie Jones suit. Pardon me. We get a Brotherhood of Mutants. We don't really see them for too long, but there is an Azazel, there is a Lady Deathstrike, there is a Callisto from X-Men: The Last Stand. There's quite a few there, but they don't have big moments. They're just kind of, it's just more for numbers and just kind of like oh wow, cool, that person's there. Then I'm trying to think of the next load of cameos. Then we see the Resistance. There is rumors of a Resistance. Kind of like other Marvel heroes who have kind of band together and they're trying to stop Cassandra Nova. And these are the ones who were revealed in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con. These are the big spoilers. I'd heard about a few of them. I'd heard at least rumors of a few of them, but they were all cool. So Jennifer Garner is back as Elektra. I'd heard the rumor. It was cool to see again. There's a great Daredevil joke as well at Ben Affleck's expense. I love Ben Affleck, but the joke was great. Daphne Keane returns as X-23. We saw that in the final trailer, so I already knew that going in as well. The next rumoured one was that Channing Tatum would be playing Gambit. He does play Gambit, and he's really good as it. Like, once I saw it, I was like, wow, like, we really got robbed of a great kind of Gambit performance. They make fun of his accent. His Cajun accent is not half bad, but they do make fun of it quite a bit. The only one I was shocked by, I was really surprised by, and I don't know if I'd heard rumors about this one or not, but this one did surprise me, and that's that Wesley Snipes returns as Blade. And that was cool to see. So those are your Resistance characters. So you got Deadpool, Wolverine, and those four kind of teaming up for a little bit, and they all get a moment to shine. Like, they get to do some cool stuff. They get to fight, and they get to wear their suits, and they get to have some quippy dialogue and stuff like that. And especially seeing Gambit use his powers. The only thing would have been cool to see X-23 in her suit. She didn't get to wear a Wolverine, so that's the only thing that I would have liked. But it was still cool seeing them all team up. That was great. And she did wear her sunglasses from Logan, which I loved. And I think the last cameo is really... There is a Stan Lee cameo. Obviously, Stan Lee passed away a number of years ago now, but there is a billboard with his face on it, which was really nice to see. But I think the last round of cameos would be all the Deadpool variants. So you never see the face of another Deadpool. Actually, that's not true. There's Nice Pool. There's Nice Deadpool, who's very Canadian and friendly, played by Ryan Reynolds as well. And he's like very handsomed up, and he's not rude. He doesn't curse. He's just like very pretty, and wears a very very shiny suit. Dogpool obviously is in the trailers as well. There are a ton of Deadpool variants. There's Kid Pool and Baby Pool, who are played by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds' kids. There's Cowboy Deadpool, who's voiced by Matthew McConaughey. Lady Deadpool gets a few cool moments. She's voiced by Blake Lively. Headpool, which is just a floating head. I think that was Nathan Fillion, if I remember correctly. And a bunch of others as well. And that's a really cool sequence. That's a really fun fight scene. And then that's pretty much it. Again, I'm not going to kind of go through all the plot points too much, but the cameos are really cool. There is a post-credit sequence. The post-credit sequence is not... doesn't do anything to push the story forward. And that's what I was saying. Like, it doesn't really push the story forward. So that's why I was like, just manage your expectations with this one. It doesn't advance the MCU. It does open up possibilities, but it's really about like saying goodbye to the Fox universe. There's a really wonderful tribute in the closing credits where they show a bunch of like B-roll footage, kind of behind the scenes of all the different Fox movies. Kind of a little montage there. That was really good. And then the post-credit scene is a joke. It's a very funny joke. It kind of was reminiscent of when Cap was at the end of Spider-Man: Homecoming, and Cap has his whole lecture on patience. It's similar vein to that, but well worth your time and really enjoyable. Oh, I apologise. As I said, I'm still very sick. But that's it. That's everything I've seen at this stage. So it's Monday today. By the time anyone hears this, it'll probably be Tuesday. So when Tina comes back on the show, we'll probably talk about the Harry Potter Studios experience. We'll talk about the Frozen stage show as well, I'm sure. But that's pretty much everything at the moment. Now that I'm in Scotland and we're starting to settle in, I'm going to try and set up some more regular episodes again with guests. Sorry, my brain is just not working very well. Going to try and set up some recordings with guests again, which would be really good to do. But just bear with me. That's going to do it. If you want to support the show, you can jump online, like us and follow us on Instagram. Like our posts, share our posts, comment our posts. It really does build awareness. If you like the show and want to write a review, jump onto Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Give us a rating, write a review. That helps us as well. Pardon me. I promise you normal episodes are coming back. At least that is the goal. While I'm overseas, it's all a bit strange. But that's pretty much going to do it. Thank you all for listening. If you want to talk about the announcements of San Diego Comic-Con, if you want to share your thoughts on Deadpool and Wolverine or Longlegs or anything else, reach out to me online. I'd love to have a chat. But otherwise, as I say every week on this show, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.